Hello and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and kind of moving away from hand tools because I had a woodworking emergency. My fiance just moved into a new office and she needs a shelf. She needs it quickly because she needs to put her stuff on it, and she didn't want just a normal shelf that had a 90-degree bracket on the bottom of it, so we're going to try and make a floating shelf today. So there was something else that I wanted to try this episode, which was to do my design and my drawings in a CAD program. I, being a classically trained mechanical engineer, know how to use SolidWorks, Creo, and a couple of other CAD packages, but both of those are really expensive. So one of the things that I've seen a lot of woodworkers using is Autodesk Fusion 360. I went ahead and downloaded it, and it's pretty good, and it's free for anybody who is not running a business or has not made over some amount. They've got the fine print on their website. Go ahead and check it out. It's decently user-friendly, takes a little bit of getting used to. If you're not familiar with CAD packages in general, go ahead and give yourself some patience with it. But one of the things that I learned in doing this is that in trying to boot up and get Autodesk Fusion 360 working to do a simple shelf like this, it took me about 4 hours to go all the way through and produce this. As opposed to when I got done with it, I just went to a piece of paper and in about 10 to 15 minutes, I went ahead and drew this. So the beautiful thing about this is once you kind of have your idea for the design, it comes together pretty smoothly, and this is actually a good example of what a pocket shelf looks like. So right back here, you're going to get a mount up against the wall, so we'll mount it straight into the wall. And then you get kind of this box. The shaded piece is the top and bottom of it, but you get this frame that sits around the outside and will actually slide around the outside of that and sit flush with the wall. And you can see that pretty closely in the CAD as well. The nice thing about doing it here is that you can go through and just quickly count all the different components you need, get all the different lengths, total up the different lengths of lumber that you need. And then I got my purchase list put together and just went by Home Depot this morning. Alrighty then, let's get started. Look at the 1x2s that I got. One of the things that I would like to be cognizant of is which of these pieces is going to end up being the front facing and the edge facing faces. So over here you can see that we're going to have one cosmetic face, two cosmetic face, and this one's actually going to be up against the wall, so that one doesn't need to be cosmetic. But I would like to preferentially choose the nicest 25 3/4 inches and then also 9 1/4 inches over here, because these are going to be showing on the outside with the top and the bottom. The other nice thing is once you go through and you put your plan together like this, you've got essentially exactly, well, you don't have essentially, you have exactly the cut list that you need, and so I can very quickly go through and get these guys cut. case in point on why you set it all up before you put it together. One of the things that I did not account for is that my 1x10s were not actually 1x10 like I have set in my drawing, but they are actually 9¼ inches. So I am a full width off, and you can actually see that just about perfectly up here. Luckily, that's not going to be too hard to fix. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and chop off one width on the end of each one of these. And then I also did the same thing down here where I needed to bump this guy in just a little bit. So I'll go ahead and chop off the width on all of these ones right here, go ahead and put the angle, and then cut the 45s on this, and we'll do another dry fit here in a second. Alrighty, after trimming up all those edges, you can kind of see how it all fits together now, where these pieces right here come in and they're stationed to the back, or they're fastened to the back, and so then that'll be in the wall. And then the top with the bottom and this edge piece all the way along here will be a whole other piece. And you can see, kind of like on the drawing, it will slide over the top of it. So that whole thing is going to slide over the top, and then it's going to hold itself up on the wall. One of the things to notice about this is that when you're only fastening into the wall like this, it is not as structurally secure as having something that's actually supporting it from the bottom. So if you're planning to hold your encyclopedias, I would not use a floating shelf. However, for just about every other purpose, they're good to go. Okay, so the next step that we have on here is to fasten it all together. I'm only going to use fasteners on the support in the back along these guys right here, and along the front for the tops and the bottoms, I'm going to go ahead and just use wood glue. Wood glue is actually very, very strong, and I don't think I'm going to need to fasten it together. Plus, it'll make sure that we don't have fasteners showing on the fronts of the actual shelf itself. If it turns out that it's not as structurally secure as we'd like it to be, it's always easy to throw some screws in after the fact. But on pieces of wood this small, one of the things to remember is that we will want to do pilot holes, because otherwise we have a high risk of splitting our wood. So let's see how it goes. Okay, small change of plans. Fastening this guy went together so well that I think I'm going to try and fasten these guys to the edge from the bottom, because then it's not going to be a cosmetic face and it will be nice and secure. And then what I can do is then wood glue down the top once I know that all of this fits together nicely with that. So now with the bottom all fastened together, I went ahead and put some clamps all around it to kind of simulate what the shelf was going to look like in the end. And now I'm going to go ahead and just run a small bead of wood glue all the way up and along the edges over here, clamp it together, and let it finish up. One of the things you'll notice over here on the left is that there's a little bit of a mismatch, and it's because the top and the bottom were not exactly the same size. And then also I think when I fastened in this bottom piece right here, it didn't come together quite perpendicular to the bottom face. It's fine. What I did is I made sure that that face, which is the most prominent cosmetic face, matched up nicely, and then also this edge over here matched up pretty nicely. And I can go ahead and just trim this guy up so that it sits flush with wall on the end. Alrighty, so normally I like to let my wood glue sit for at least overnight, but in this case I want to try and get this done quickly because it is a woodworking emergency. So I let the wood glue sit for a couple of hours, which is probably more than it needs. Titebond itself says that you only need to have a half hour, but I wanted to make sure that it had plenty of time. So I'm going to go ahead and uncase this guy now. In case we were wondering about the structural rigidity, that's what happens when you don't catch something that you're supposed to catch. So I think it looks pretty good. Luckily we hit it on the bottom, but the shock wasn't enough to pop anything loose, so that seems pretty good. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today on this episode. So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is how to get the right amount of video per episode, because it seems like every single time I film one of my episodes, I get 15, 20, 30 minutes worth of video that I'd like to put in there, because I'm trying to really show you guys what each one of the steps looks like and show you each one of the pieces that I put into it. If you guys would like me to have shorter videos that skip over some of the smaller steps that you guys don't feel like you need, or that would just leave a little bit more for you guys to figure out, I'm totally fine with that, but I kind of want to get your guys' input, because if you like having all of the detail, I want to make sure that I keep it in there. So like in this episode, I have all of the structural portions of the video right now, and that's what I'm going to do for this video, and then I'm going to follow it up with all the finishing. So there was kind of an abrupt end at the end of this scene, because I was going straight into the sanding of it so that I could start with the next thing, with the finishing. If you guys would like me to go through and just cut out a bunch of the little steps so we can get shorter videos, just let me know, and that would be totally fine with me, because I want to make sure that I'm producing content that you guys enjoy. So if you like what you're seeing and you have any feedback, please comment, like, and if you want to see more of this stuff, subscribe. Subscribing to our channel helps immensely. I can't even tell you how big of a difference that it makes when I try and release videos, and you guys are just actively on there and watching these, and I love interacting with you. There's a couple of you that I interact with on a regular basis, so feel free to get involved. Please get involved. I really enjoy it. I really appreciate it. And if you have any feedback about the way that I did things, or questions about why I did things the way that I did, please also leave it there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram if you'd like to follow us on those two different locations. And thanks for joining us. Look forward to the next video.